So you've seen them online, right? A $500 solar system versus a $5,000 one. And you're probably thinking, well, the expensive one's just bigger, more panels, bigger batteries, simple as that. But the real story, the one that really matters, isn't about size. It's about how they behave, how they perform, and maybe most importantly, how they fail. So let's break down the actual engineering.
And online, the comparison usually looks something like this. You've got the $500 system, and it's for the absolute basics, right? Keeping some lights on, charging your phone. Then you've got the $5,000 system, and that's pitched as the one that can run your whole house, or at least all the important stuff. But is it really that black and white? Of course not. We're going to go way beyond the marketing claims here and look at the actual physics to see what you are actually getting for your money. All right, so let's dive in, starting with that budget-friendly $500 system. You know, on paper, the specs might look pretty decent, but the reality of how much energy you can actually use, well, that's a whole different story. Okay, the first thing we absolutely have to talk about is a concept called depth of discharge, or DOD. See, with the typical lead-acid batteries you find in most of these budget kits, you can't just drain them all the way to zero. If you do that, you'll cause permanent damage. And that means you can only safely use about half of their advertised capacity. Yeah, just half. So let's watch how the math on this actually plays out. You start with what sounds like a pretty good number, a 1,200 watt-hour battery. Okay, great. But then, bam, we apply that 50% depth of discharge rule, and just like that, you're down to 600. Then you have to factor in the unavoidable system losses. You know, from the inverter, the wiring, and poof, there goes another 20%. What are you left with? Just 480 watt-hours. That is your real-world usable energy budget for the day. And what does 480 watt-hours actually get you? Well, the basics. LED lights? Sure. Charging your phone? Absolutely. Maybe you can run a small fan for a few hours. But what about a refrigerator or power tools? No way, not a chance. This system is what we call energy limited. Think of it this way. You just don't have a lot of fuel in the tank to begin with. Okay, so now let's switch gears and look at that premium $5,000 system. As we're about to see, the entire equation gets flipped on its head, and a totally new kind of limit pops up. Now, a typical system in this price range often uses a 48-volt lithium battery. That gives you a starting point of 4,800 watt-hours. And here's where lithium really shines. You can safely use about 85% of its capacity. So even after you account for those system losses, you're still left with over 3,200 watt-hours of usable energy. I mean, that is a huge leap. And this right here is the big reveal. When you have this much energy on tap, your problem completely changes. It's no longer about how much fuel you have in the tank. The new bottleneck is power. In other words, how fast can you actually use all that energy? And the component that decides that, the gatekeeper, is your inverter. So, what's power? Well, it's measured in watts, and it's simply the rate at which you're using energy. Your inverter has a maximum watt rating, and it cannot go over that. So even if your batteries are totally full, if you try to run appliances that pull more watts than your inverter can handle, like say the big surge when a refrigerator motor kicks on, the whole system will just shut down. Instantly. It does that to protect itself. I mean, this chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Just look at that massive gap between the claimed energy, what's on the box, and the actual usable energy for both systems. This is honestly one of the most misunderstood things about solar, and it's the critical difference between a system that actually works in the real world and one that just looks good on a spec sheet. Okay, so we've established they perform very differently. But what about when things go wrong? Because they do. And the way these two systems fail could not be more different. Understanding this is absolutely crucial for knowing the real risks involved. Think about the $500 system. It fails, well, kind of gracefully. It's like a flashlight with dying batteries. The lights will dim, the voltage sags, it gives you a warning that you're running out of juice. The $5,000 system, though, it fails instantly. The second you exceed its power limit, even for a split second, it's just click. Everything shuts off. No warning at all, just a sudden, abrupt stop. And this brings us to the most serious point we're going to cover. We're talking about the consequences of a design mistake. See, in a small, low-power system, a mistake usually just means it's inefficient or it doesn't work well. But in a large, high-power system, a mistake can be truly catastrophic. Okay, get ready for this number.
To get 2,000 watts of power from a simple 12-volt battery, your inverter has to pull over 160 amps of current. Let me put that into perspective for you. That is an enormous amount of electricity. We're talking about the same kind of current an industrial arc welder uses. And if that much energy isn't managed perfectly, it's not just a little inefficient, it is incredibly dangerous.
So here's the chain reaction that can lead to disaster. You've got a powerful inverter, it's pulling that massive current we just talked about. Now, if the wires connecting that inverter to the battery are even a little bit too small for the job, they just can't handle it. They will literally heat up like the element in your toaster, melt their plastic insulation right off, and can easily start a fire. And I need to be clear, this isn't some theoretical what-if scenario. This is a very real danger with poorly designed systems. And this is exactly why you see larger, professionally designed systems using higher voltages, like 24 or 48 volts. It's all about safety. Just look at the difference here. That same 2,000-watt load that was pulling a scary 167 amps at 12 volts, on a 48-volt system, it only draws about 42 amps. You get the exact same amount of power, but the current is 4 times lower. And lower current means you can use safer, more manageable wiring. The risk of fire goes way down. It's not just a preference, it's a critical engineering decision for safety. So, after breaking all of this down, what's the real takeaway here? Well, it means we need to completely reframe how we think about these systems. It is not about just comparing price tags. Because here's the most crucial point of all. Solar isn't about how much money you spend, it's about how well your system is engineered. You know, a well-designed, safe $500 system that respects its own limits is infinitely better than a poorly designed $5,000 system that's a constant fire hazard or is just shutting down on you all the time. So I'll leave you with this. This is the one question you should ask about any solar setup, yours or one you're looking at. Is this system limited by energy? You know, the amount of fuel in the tank? Or is it limited by power, the size of the pipe that lets that fuel out? Because once you know the answer to that, you know everything you need to know about what that system can and can't do.